Hey, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Quest at Home on Monday morning, March the 29th. So this morning we're going to talk about there's no such thing as a bad meditation, and we're going to revisit the topic of meditation. And this is something, as many of you would know, it's a real foundation point of our program at Quest, and something that we recommend very highly in terms of a fundamental for the whole program. So welcome to this morning, and let's just start together with a small meditation and to get us attuned to that topic for this morning. So either closing your eyes or just gazing softly and feeling your feet on the floor. And a deep breath in, and bringing your attention, your awareness into this present moment. And let's become aware of our senses, so aware of your feet on the floor, connection with Mother Earth, aware of your body sitting on the chair, and the breath gently moving in and out. Aware of any sounds inside of your room or outside of your room. Aware of the sight behind closed eyes. Aware of any aromas or tastes. And just notice how your state may have changed through coming into the present moment. And aware of any shifts in your tummy or the rest of your awareness of yourself. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. This is our practice called coming to our senses, which hasn't worked very well for me this morning because there's some chaos in my home at the moment with builders and gates, and someone has let my dog out and she's scratching at the door, and I'm going to just have to let her in. Do excuse me. I'm sorry about that. And the reason I don't normally have her with us on a Monday morning is that she's prone to barking. So fingers crossed. So do apologise for that start to the day. Such is life with unexpected events, even though you take all precautions. So look, that's a good example, isn't it, of life doesn't go as we plan, as we all well know, and sometimes can be stretching us a bit above and beyond. And it can seem like a far cry when we suggest at Quest meditation, because most of us have that picture of the person in the lotus position, sitting very calmly and serenely. And if your brain's really on fire with a lot of events, a lot of unexpected happenings, a lot of big, overwhelming emotions, then that is just so a bridge too far, that whole idea of sitting serenely with our eyes closed, feeling calm and peaceful. It can take quite a bit to get to that space, as we know. So I want to talk this morning about just setting up meditation, and other facilitators will be talking about different aspects during the week. But the setup in our mind of what meditation is and what we're trying to achieve with it is very important, I find, and particularly for people with PTSD or brains that tend to run amok with, fearful experiences or worrying experiences, or you've just got all of that happening in your life. How do we use meditation to assist us to regulate, is the word that we like to use in brain science, to balance out the brain, to help the brain to calm down? Because we all know how ineffective it is. Someone says, calm down, and we go, oh, I wish I could, because when the brain's full of that adrenal and cortisol and all that fab chemistry, we literally can't calm down. So that's when people go, oh, I tried meditation, I couldn't sit still long enough, I couldn't get my mind to think of nothing, I couldn't switch it off. And often what they're really saying is, I thought meditation was about controlling the mind and making the mind sit down and be still and be quiet. And sometimes in some traditions, the mind is described as a mad monkey that you've got to kind of tame or tie up, or I don't quite understand. But I'm going to offer perhaps a different way of seeing it, in the hope that we all need things said in many different ways till the one that lands for us lands for us. So now, particularly in the last 10 years, our studies of the brain and psychology have really changed in such an interesting and fascinating way. And now we've got a lot more insight when we talk about the brain as the physical organ that runs the programs, has been shaped by your experiences in your life, and has recorded what people have said to you, has taken in your mother's voice, your father's voice, your teacher's voice, the expressions, no use crying over spilt milk, and that never helped anybody, and you've just got to get on with it, and whatever those expressions were, don't be a drama queen, la la la, that will pop into our head, won't they, in a moment when we're searching for a way to indeed calm ourselves down, because we're so uncomfortable with the agitation running in our system. And so, thinking of the mind running away, it can feel quite powerless and hopeless. But I found this quite helpful when we understand that the brain is simply firing on all cylinders to try to protect us by getting us to go into fight, flight, freeze, whatever it thinks we need to do to survive the moment. And it's getting busy, and it's thinking about a lot of things, or it's throwing up, and then if this happened, and then if that happened, casting even more scary pictures in front of us, which so doesn't help. We know this, right? You go, meditate, are you nuts? I'm going crazy here, right? So that's what the brain does. It does what it's been trained to do. It's done what it's seen other people do. It's done what the chemistry flooding through it is making it do in the moment. However, when we start to think about, is the brain the mind? And this is a fascinating question that lots of people have studied and written about, and there's quite a division in the opinion about. So I'm not going to say to you, this is the way it is. I'm going to say this is a hot topic in psychology and neurobiology at the moment, about how do we define the mind and what happens when we look at the mind functioning as separate from the brain. So this has made a lot of sense to me, because I've always wondered about, if every thought in our head is so-called the product of just the physical things going on in the brain, how come we can think about the brain, and how come we can direct the brain to do things? Say, think about your big toe, think about this, think about that. So it has made sense to me, and I'm just offering it as we do at Quest, throwing it out there for you, see if it helps, to say the mind. What if the mind is the awareness that is able to make choices about what happens with the brain? And what if meditation, which is sometimes, you might have heard it referred to as mindfulness, and we want to note it's not mindlessness, it's not mind emptiness, it's actually mindfulness, suggesting that the mind is full of something, but possibly not what the brain is programmed to be full of. So there's an interesting distinction to be made. And I do find this distinction enormously helpful when we're considering meditation. So I like to think of meditation as a conversation I'm going to have with myself, with my mind. And Daniel Siegel, who's one of the great authors on this topic, the mind, the brain, the neuroplasticity, fabulous research and practitioner, he talks about if we don't pay attention to the mind, it's just going to run itself with all the things that have happened to our brain, and it's just going to take us, leap about and go, oh, and then this happened, and oh, what about that, and oh, look at that, and oh my God, that. It's going to just be randomly scanning all the things that the brain is full of or engaged with at a certain time. And he talks about, as do many authors and teachers on the subject, the simple act of paying attention with our mind to our mind is the turning point, if you will, in meditation. So it's not about, now I'm going to control this mind and make it stop thinking thoughts and make it be quiet and tell it not to do the shopping list and it's going to sit still and do nothing and be empty. Not that, because we can't do that straight away on any given day, and even on a big meditation day, it can be hard to do, right? So the mind, what if, always about doing the experiment at Quest, what if the mind is the awareness of ourselves that can notice what the brain is doing? You know, and I found this tremendously helpful in my own journey with PTSD and in assisting many others with their journey of PTSD. When I noticed suddenly, boom, you know, DEFCON 5, the system's on alert, I don't know what's happened, and the brain is running scary movies, and I go, oh, wow, look at that, right? Look at what the brain is doing. That's the PTSD brain. That's what it will do under the provocation of certain events, some of which I'm not even going to be conscious of. Sounds, sights, smells. So what if we have an awareness, a potential for awareness of what the brain is doing, and we can simply observe and go, oh, wow, that my brain's really scaring me right now. It's really coming up with some scary images. Sorry, dog making bed. Showing me movies, it's coming up with sound effects, the whole deal, scary thoughts. What if I have the capacity in my mind, which is, can we just suggest for a moment, greater than the brain, which is this big? And what if the mind is in a larger space, potentially the quantum field, and is able to observe, notice, comprehend, and think about what the brain itself is doing? So this is my experience, that my mind is able to do that, and that is actually very fascinating, very interesting, and tremendously helpful. So meditation then is when I sit down to say, okay, I'm going to ask my mind to observe the brain and have a conversation with myself, really based on the question, is what the brain is throwing up right now where I want my head to be, where I want my chemistry to be, where I want my physiology to be? And if it's ramped up, telling me scary stories, giving me 50 jobs to do at once that I can't possibly do all in one day, collecting disaster stories from all around me, starting in on my personality and my character, assassination thereof, right? Which is what the depressed brain will do, what the PTSD brain will do. If the brain is doing that, I can actually go, okay, this is what the chemistry of the depressed brain, the PTSD brain, to name just a few, will do under pressure, under tiredness, under anger, under emotional strain, under physical ill health, all of the above. So my mind can go, oh, yep, okay, it's in full swing. The brain's doing its thing. And so what can I do, I being the mind, to help the brain right now, to help it not have to just be overrun by this chemistry and by this experience? So the mind has awareness of many things and can say, oh, well, I remember that I could take some deep breaths. I could go out into nature. I can breathe more deeply. I can regulate the breath. Do the coming to our senses meditation that we just did together, because I know that immediately starts to calm the brain down by giving it something else to focus on. The depressed brain, the PTSD brain, spend a lot of time in the past and the future, And the mind can be very aware of the present moment, particularly through anchoring into the senses. So the mind can go, okay, that's not happening yet. That's not happening now. What is happening right now? So I can hear birds singing. I can see the blue of the sky. I can know that my body's in a comfortable place or not. And can you feel how, even with those few thoughts cutting across the recycling of the agitated brain, the physiology starts to calm down? And would invite you to notice that none of this language is about, I should try harder, oh God, I can't do this, I should be able to do this better, why can't I just calm down, oh God, I'm overreacting, right? Which is often what the PTSD brain and depressed brain will do, go into criticizing ourselves. I can't meditate. I've tried to meditate, it doesn't work for me. I can't get my brain to sit still. That's right. What we can do is create the conditions of a deeper breath, maybe of going for a walk. If you're very agitated, sitting may not work, of observing nature, of observing myself, of taking just 1 minute's awareness out of the job at hand, the interaction, whatever's going on. The mind can remember to insert those very simple behaviors, which is inviting the brain into a meditative state. So let's suppose for a minute that we can do that. We say, okay, I'm going to try to meditate. And even if that's just going to the bathroom and taking some deep breaths and bringing myself into the present moment just for a second, then rather than telling the brain, calm down, I should be able to calm down, what if we just notice and went, oh, okay, that's a scary story. Oh, wow, the brain's just giving me like 10 reminders of jobs to do with a should attached to all of them all at once, and that's too much to take in. Oh, I'm actually thinking something quite critical of myself right now. I'm full of judgment about something, everything. I'm focusing on what somebody else is doing that I don't like right now, and the brain is having a conversation. And so notice I said I'm focusing on, and that's what we do. We slip into identifying with what the brain is doing. So I try to use language that is not I'm focusing on, but says the brain is focusing on that story, that event, that feeling, and then it's running its old stories about it. Whereas when I can have a conversation with the mind and say, okay, yep, there's that old story. Yep, there's the old stories running. Great to notice that. Maybe I'm quite uncomfortable with it. However, I am sitting still or walking quietly. I have removed myself from the situation, if just for a moment. I am bringing my attention to the present moment, even if I just notice, what can I see, what can I hear, what can I feel, a quick version of coming to our senses. Oh, guess what? I'm meditating. Right? That is meditating. Meditation, if you look up the definitions, but they generally revolve around paying deliberate attention to the contents of the mind. And we're now going to say, and the activities of the brain. Add that in there. And what if it's just a conversation? It's not about, I should be able to make it go quiet. I should be able to leap into inner peace. I should be able to feel better instantly. What if none of that is true on the day? However it is, okay, I am connecting with myself. The brain is talking to the mind is talking to the brain. Because, it's very fascinating, I find, that when that happens, something feels very different. And some of you may be able to relate to this, but when that happens, when the mind is observing the brain, what it's doing, I tend to think it's rather like the inner child work we talk about sometimes, where the brain is often, particularly if it's panicky or feeling overwhelmed and helpless, has gone into a kind of child configuration of the brain where we felt out of control and didn't know what to do. And when we bring the, can I say, kind attention, even loving attention of our adult mind to what the brain is doing, we can feel very comforted by it, which is a delightful discovery. So rather than it being, oh, I can't meditate, I've tried, I can't sit still, I can't do what I think those things are saying to do, I can pay a kind visit. I can bring a loving attention to the activities of the brain sitting inside my skull. How about that as an invitation? Like, just notice if that frees you up in any way, gets you off the hook of I can't meditate, it's hard, I don't know how, it doesn't work for me, Because we know that the mind will willingly engage with anything it's interested in. And it's not usually interested in being controlled, being told to sit down and shut up, being told it's doing the wrong thing. It's not usually really lit up by that message. However, when we invite the mind, hey, check this out. What's the brain doing right now? Because I'm sure feeling a lot of agitation or discomfort, or I've just decided I'm going to try meditation this morning. It doesn't have to be all based in that, of course. I'm going to do the experiment. I was invited to do a quest and try meditation. Okay, what is the brain doing right now? It can be quite interesting to go, oh, look at that. Wow. Because fascinatingly enough, the brain can be running stories, tapes, memories, experiences. We don't actually even recognize them until we pay attention. So, we do love to say at Quest, peace is not a place you arrive and unpack. It's a journey, it's a process. That what if we wanted peace, inner peace more than anything? It's an inside job. What does that mean? Well, we can't make ourselves be peaceful, and meditation is not about making ourselves be peaceful. It is about paying loving, kind attention to what is going on in our heads, in the brain, and choosing what we would like to have going on in there, which is making an intervention, if you will, but without control, without judgment, without criticism, to go, oh, okay, the brain's running some scary movies, some not very kind to me thoughts, some pretty drastic views of the world and what's going on right now. Can I invite it? Can I redirect it? Can I give it something else to pay attention to instead? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying we never need to go there. I'm just saying in this moment, when I'm choosing to meditate, can I choose to pay attention to something else instead? Because I choose to, because I wish to have a calmer, more peaceful experience of myself in my body at this time. That sounds okay, doesn't it? And the mind can usually go, oh, yeah, that'd be quite good. How will we do that then? well, deep breath. Well, let's have some topics already lined up. So being in nature, coming into the present moment. Maybe you're just paying attention to the breathing or listening to that bird call, or maybe you've lined up one of Petrea's meditations or a yoga nidra CD. We don't use that as a thing. Maybe you've already thought of something, someone's voice that you'd like to listen to for a 1 minute, 5 minute meditation. Maybe you'd like to go deeper and you've found a voice and a message that your mind really likes, because we don't want to. Meditation is about making ourselves do something because it's good for us, even if we don't like it. We don't want to do that. As we're adults, we get to choose. However, it is about, okay, let me do this experiment of actively engaging with the brain, with the mind, and inviting the mind to form, some people call them healthier habits, to form a more directed way of relating to myself. Because we know for sure that when we have a positive, constructive relationship in our heads, it affects all the relationships in our lives and many things in our lives. So yes, I choose to meditate with this 5, 10, 1 minute I've got available right now. Or set aside half an hour, I'm going to really make it beautiful and light a candle and pick a flower and do it beautifully, however it is. Or you've gone for a walk and you're sitting by a stream or a river or an ocean going, I'm going to take this time to pay attention to what's going on in my head and how to bring the mind into the present moment in the body, using the coming to our senses premise, if you will. And then I'm going to invite the mind to focus on something beautiful, something kind, something that I would like to be thinking about more often. It can be the face of a beloved child or grandchild, face of little puppy dog or pussycat, the view of the night sky. You get to choose. What do you love to focus on? What lifts you up and lights you up? Be listening to beautiful music and you're simply going to sit and really pay attention to it with your mind. These are all ways to meditate in a way that can work for you without thinking you have to control yourself. You have to stop the brain, which is so, the brain, it's a Porsche. Like it's amazing. It can do a shopping list, go through everything you have to do on the day and listen to a meditation voice at the same time. We know this. Extraordinary. It can do all of the above. And in our meditation, we're also saying to the brain, I know you can do 3 things at once. That's awesome. However, just for these moments, I'm going to try to do one thing, which is to focus on something I'd actually really like you to focus on. That's the experiment, to have that conversation with the brain. I hear you. There's too many things in the day. You've got things on your brain. You're getting anxious about them. I really hear that. So, even more reason, let's just take time out before we start and focus on the beautiful birds singing right now. And the fact that I can take this breath and take this moment and bring the awareness of the mind back to myself. Because being present to ourselves in our lives is what gives us choices to do the experiment, to be able to use all the quest tools. Meditation is the underpinning of these. And it's a conversation with yourself. We meet many people who walk through the doors of Quest who really don't want to have a conversation with themselves because what's going on in their brain is so upsetting. They're angry, they're criticizing themselves, the brain's telling them there's nothing hopeful in their lives, everything feels traumatic and awful, and they don't know how to comfort themselves, be with themselves, be an ally, be a best friend to themselves. And meditation is the doorway that opens up this field of inquiry, this field of relationship, a kind relationship, a caring relationship, a compassionate relationship with ourselves, which is not based on any judgment or evaluation. It's simply based on a willingness to be kind to life, to be kind to all beings, to be kind to myself, because I'm the one who's here. So I hope that you can maybe just feel that landing a bit in your system of that kindness. It does all come back to loving kindness. And it does certainly revolve around developing the capacity to think consciously, use the mind to think consciously thoughts and pay attention to ideas and thoughts that are going to actively assist us to deal with whatever is coming our way, especially when that feels like too much. It's so important to assist and give the mind more room to focus on what can bring us peace at any moment. So thank you for joining me this morning. I'm offering deep gratitude to the dog for not barking. Deep gratitude to you all for being here and listening. It is a fond wish that you might try that today sometime, to have that conversation with the mind, with your brain, and see what you can choose to do that will assist you. Hope you have an awesome week, and I will see you next Monday, which is Easter Monday, and we will be here. So great best wishes to everybody for a beautiful day and a week ahead. Thanks, everyone.